All right, this is a raid, the stage 4. It happens to be a tier 4 raid, and this is to show you how to use a strategy with Stitch against Ursula. The teammates here are Cobra, Honeylemon, along with Dash and Hero. Hero is there to provide evasion, Honeylemon to slow down Ursula, Cobra also to take the speed meter off of Ursula and to give tactics to Stitch, and Stitch is there to do all the damage. Now, as said before in some of these, it's important to get the tentacles off before Ursula gets a turn. That's always important in these raids. So I use Hero here to speed up Cobra, because Cobra is going to slow down Ursula's speed meter. If you look at the top, the stare down, it goes way down. Now that gives me a lot more time. Now, Honeylemon puts a slow debuff on Ursula. And now we can use Hero's Shield, which is so important to protection. Now Dash can get in and do some of his damage. And he's here as a big damage dealer. You could replace him with another damage dealer, but I love him to take down the tentacles. Now here's the strategy with Stitch. You basically want to use that basic attack so he can build his arms to start with. Going to use Cobra here to cleanse Stitch, because having the cleanse on Stitch puts the power up on Stitch, and it means that every time he hits, it puts these more debuffs on Ursula. You saw their Dash is there to take out the tentacles, and that's why it's so important to take out the tentacles before the first turn, because it stuns Ursula like that and gives everybody 2 times the power. Now, almost exclusively, I'm use Honeylemon to just with her basic attack to slow down, but here, once you stun Ursula, it gives everybody crit power for 2 times those bullseyes. So, want to use her most powerful attack in that instance. Now, and here's Stitch again. Here, just going to use his basic attack because it builds up. It gains him arms, and every time he shoots Ursula, it builds up. As you see at the top there, look at those numbers go up from 6 to 14. That third one, that's her critical, her defense down, is now up to 14. Watch that number. It keeps building every time Stitch hits her with the attack. And that's what makes this so critical, because then at some point you can use Stitch's car attack, his punch buggy throw, and it does 10% damage for every defense down. So the numbers get huge. I've seen some people with 200,000 and more damage done in just one car throw. But first, you want to build that number up. But you do want to use the car throw occasionally, even on your way up, because then it can recharge. But you see that is now that Stitch has all 6 arms, which just takes 3 of his basic attack turns, he's now put on 21 debuffs. And again, there's Cobra using that stare down to slow down Ursula's speed meter, which is so critical, because it's the things that are important here is for Hero to give evasion, to give time. And here comes the car throw. Look at the damage it's done this time, 11,356 plus the assist from Cobra. Again, so critical to take out these tentacles. Unfortunately, here this time, I didn't quite get it down. Dash didn't have it, so 1 tentacle survives, but we have the evasion over here, which provides some protection from that tentacle. And now I can attack the tentacle again, and it's gone before Ursula's next turn, which is so critical because it can do so much damage. So he didn't quite get rid of the tentacles, and now they're hitting, and now that's the problem with not getting rid of that tentacles. They're so close to getting rid of it. Fortunately, my team can survive that bit of poison, that bit of damage. They had some evasion to avoid some of it, but that was a mistake. So now I want to get rid of the tentacles this time. But also, so important to keep giving Stitch the cleanse so that his hits put the critical down. Now watch, and often I want to give the speed to Stitch because it allows that number to build and build faster. And his little tongue hit there is not one you can use a ton, but it does slow down Ursula, and it gives Stitch evasion, which I use there because he needs some evasion back to protect him until Hero can go again. There's Dash, that's his job, take out the tentacles. He does a lot of damage. And look at just how much damage is done now at this point, just from Stitch's basic attack. And again, stare down is the most important move that Cobra has because it can slow down Ursula. But in this case, I'm going to use the cleanse because of all of this, because I really want to give some health back to characters, and I don't have any spells that give health back, so I gave Dash some tactics, which helps him, and also his spell. Splash Mountain I'm using in this case because Splash Mountain actually not only does a little bit of damage, and if the tentacles were out, could do damage to the tentacles, but it also does some magic down to Ursula, so it slows down her move speeding up. This is also why the evasion is so important with Hero, because when she comes out with this shipwreck, you want to evade that. And it's so important to even have multiple evasions on, because now, since some of my characters didn't have multiple evasions on, they get hit by that move, and get some debuffs put on them. Again, here comes Cobra with that can also do a slow. That time I didn't use the stare down, because Ursula's speed meter was just starting, so I wanted to save that up. And here with Dash, I used the basic, his second move, the speed kicks, because unless the tentacles are out, I want to save his bouncing between for when they're the tentacles. And look at all that damage Stitch is doing just from his basic attack. And look at the number of Raz. That first red number next to the underneath Ursula's icon at the top, it's now up to 38 defense damage, which means that when Stitch throws his punch buggy, it's going to do whatever its basic damage is plus 10% for each one of those 38 defense downs. So again, use Cobra for various things. That time I don't want to lose Hero, so I need to give him a little health boost. Otherwise, I would want to use the cleanse on Stitch, because he's the one who's doing the most effective damage. A lot here I'm adding. I just got that up to 48. But probably at this stage, it would start to make sense just to use the car, but I just got it back to Stitch again, because the damage is up with Hero's speed up move. But you can just use the car at this point, because that way it can recharge and you can do the big damage again. But the more of those critical defense downs you have built up, then it's going to make the car buggy that much more effective. But you can also use it more times because it can recharge. Now see, watch. Ursula does this. This is a double move she does, which is why it's so critical to have multiple evasions on from Hero, because just one's not going to fix that. The magic decrease of Splash Mountain slows down Ursula. It's all about slowing down Ursula. Remember, just keep using the basic move with Honey Lemon for the most part, unless they're already, you see that number right next to the Ursula icon, that's 2. Well, first watch this punch buggy throw by Stitch. Oh, 19,187. That's because we've built that up because there were 42 defense downs on her. But you can't go beyond 2 slows, which is that number next to the 42. So I feel okay about using Honey Lemon's other more powerful hit in that instance, since it can't actually add a slow from her basic attack. And there I use Stitch. That gives Stitch an extra evasion. It's a decent damage move, but you don't necessarily want to use his tongue move this much in this, because look at that. That adds it up to 50. It's just so much damage, defense down, and damage is done from his basic attack. And then the punch buggy throw is the one that causes so much damage when you've stacked all those defense downs on. You see it there now, it's at 49. So here's just trying to decide for a second which move to use, and I opt to do the defense, the Honey Lemon's more powerful move, and not the slowing down of Ursula, because she's going to get another turn that's going to increase that from 1 slow to 2, as you see the number right next to Ursula there. Again, Cobra, use the stare down, and it brings Ursula's yellow speed meter all the way down. There's Hero's shields, which basically I use every time except on the occasion. I will use his, if it's there. Sometimes if there's a reason to speed up Cobra, to give Cobra an instant turn, it's always good to give Stitch instant turns, because the more he has, the better. There I cleanse Stitch. It gives him more power and gives him tactics, which make these hits more effective and just make those numbers go way up. Do you see that? This went up to 65 critical defense downs, which means when I throw the punch buggy the next time, it's going to cause its basic damage plus 10% for every one of those added. So here comes the car. Whoa, 27,765 just from Stitch throwing the car. So that's how that works. Dash takes out the tentacles, Honey Lemon slows down, Cobra takes away the speed meter, and Hero gives evasion, and Stitch does the damage by adding those defense downs. So that's how that works.